Blox has officially lost their minds after making their players wait an entire year for an overhyped update that also scammed you. And although they have been compensated, this is still an even bigger issue that's being swept under the rug by the developers and Roblox themselves. Exhibit A, the horrendous state of modern Blox streets. The state of Blox streets in 2024 was basically a barren wasteland. Before we take you to current day, I want to revisit what was actually promised to come to Blox streets eventually. In February of 2023, yes, 2023, Blox streets claimed to be transforming the game into the ultimate RPG experience by adding new types of quests and would be revamping player progression and exploration systems throughout 2023. And this is also when we got promised reworks for both Dragon and Control, which, as we know, Dragon is now finished almost 2 years later, and Control still hasn't got its rework yet. Both fruits should have had reworks long ago, not to mention the island reworks and progression reworks that were promised through 2023 never came, and instead we got the overhyped update 20 that ruined PvP and Blox streets even more than it already was by adding Mammoth. And then the torturous Kitsune fruit eventually came, which has been nerfed now just like Leper was for Kitsune, so that people would be more encouraged to use the new Dragon rework or potentially buy it permanently for $50. The greed cycle continues. Not to mention the reworks of C1 and 2 that were promised to fix the new player experience, which is still horrendous for anyone still trying to get into Blox streets today and play the new content being added via these third C updates. Also, mobile players in Blox streets continue to be disrespected, as with each update they are constantly being forgotten about, as the game breaks the mobile UI consistently and makes the game literally unplayable on mobile devices. And as we know, mobile is one of the biggest bases, if not larger than computers on Roblox. So this is just outright carelessness and mistreatment toward their mobile player base, who make them probably the most money they've ever made. And then all throughout 2024, it went from us getting an entirely new Blox streets to us just getting a Dragon rework and a few reworks after all that was promised. But as we know already, the Blox streets developers have a history of deceptive and completely scummy tactics. So even when they do add updates to Blox streets, they are incomplete in ways that are unexplainable, which is why they never truly give reasonings as to why these things aren't finished or why the game isn't receiving updates year to year, which is and was unacceptable even before 2023. They have infinite funding and resources at this point, and there is no excuse. I mean, there's developers like the Blox developers that literally add these crazy updates to their games that are extremely high quality, and they have way less resources. Then, just for the community to receive the tiniest sneaks, they had to bribe the Innovation Awards voting, which granted, they weren't the only ones to do this, TSB, but it still was especially egregious considering how big Blox streets is compared to literally every game that was being voted in those categories the game was nominated for. People shouldn't have to be forced to vote for the game in a Roblox-wide event just to receive the most basic images in forms of sneaks, and it's not as if the community hasn't cried to them or pleaded for some sort of explanation. They just genuinely do not care a lot of the time. Exhibit B, why the Blox streets developers scammed their community. So now on to the main controversy. Blox streets has now found itself in. So basically this update took an entire year to drop, and it still was not complete with all the revamps and stuff that was promised from last year, which is inexcusable. But beyond that, this update quite literally caused a revolution to happen in the Blox streets Discord. And the reason everyone is so angry is because everyone who had both Dragon before the update and everyone who had bought Dragon permanently with Robux were scammed out of the new Dragon that was just released. But basically, people who had permanent Dragon, you had 4 options for potential replacements of something you spent your hard-earned money for. Somehow they got even more greedy whilst they sat all year counting millions. Now this is literally illegal in certain countries, as someone has pointed out, meaning Blox streets can literally be taken to court for breaching TOS, also violating consumer protection rights that can literally lead to a class action lawsuit. But due to the revolution and the backlash from all the Blox streets players, you guys got to avoid this blatant scam, and the Blox streets devs were forced to compensate all Dragon owners in various ways recently. But I promise you, had you not stood up for yourself, they probably wouldn't have reversed this update because it was planned, which is why it took a bit to revert. But Roblox allows these scams way too easily because they don't have any regulations against it, which is why Roblox devs and players alike get scammed all the time. The other scummy, not really scam situation is the fact that Dragon has an undisclosed 0.05% chance to get out of the regular money gacha, so you were practically forced to pay the 5,000 Robux price if you didn't already have it, which again is against TOS, but this update broke so many rules that you might as well throw TOS out the window. And these actions, of course, not only are hurting the reputation of Blox streets, but are also destroying the trust between the players and the developers moving forward. This is literally not only the largest player count any game has ever received on Roblox, surpassing both Adopt Me's 1.9 million players and Dress to Impress's 1.8 million players. Hell, this update was so massive that Moist Critical himself decided to stream and buy Perm Dragon just to see what the, as he would say, hoopla is about.
Shut your stupid
Now let's look at how they handled the compensation of players. Firstly, the compensation itself. Basically, if you had one single dragon fruit permanent, you could select between an east or west dragon. If you had one single physical dragon, you could get a coin flick for east or west. In order to get both, you will still have to buy the discounted 2400 Robux price, and if you had grinded and traded for physical fruits before the update, you are probably mad as hell right now. Probably because now your perms that you traded for are turned into tradable tokens, which they somehow can't release until January 7th, which makes no sense. They can release that within a few hours like they did with the fix, according to the Row brothers, who have a much smaller team. And they knew this, which is why they didn't provide the fix immediately, but instead waited hours while giving a half-assed excuse. And if you had a non-permanent dragon, they were made into physical tokens that were essentially a gacha reroll for some fruits, basically making what you grinded for sort of pointless if you had just wanted to trade dragons for the update. They did also host a fruit giveaway thing, which you either missed because it was too late at night, or you simply got trash fruits because the rates in this event were absolutely ridiculous for the few fruits that they did give out. A sorry excuse for additional compensation if you ask me. On to their excuses as to why this scam occurred, from their two favorite scapegoats, Zeos and Uzov.
We know this wouldn't have happened if Blox wasn't forced to rush in the last minute.
I won't say who, what, or why we had to, but Blox had to release the update sooner than anticipated. And so, Blox was rushed into releasing an unprepared update. Everyone got pissed.
They both said Blox was rushed to push out the update, which is why the dragon token scam happened, without actually explaining what rushed them to push this update out. Even the admins don't know how to properly cover the devs without sounding dumb as hell, which the Row brothers had every right to call the whole team out on this Twitter rant, because this right here is why I don't think the Blox team and even its admins are good people, because they're so out of touch with reality that they don't even realize the magnitude of what they did to people. Parents and children alike were scammed, and Uzov, you're treating it as if the dev team didn't do such thing whilst trying to gaslight normal everyday people who support your game. And also, the dragon token was a very thought out system, so this is a lie. They had planned this for people, because instead of putting in patch notes the same day they made the update, they made sure to talk about the dragon tokens first when the update first came out. Talk about scumbags. You couldn't have been rushed because you had an entire year and you are millionaires with an entire team. Roblox themselves are literally helping Blocksters get away with scams left and right because it is their biggest moneymaker of all time. So why should they compensate these parents and children what they actually lost, which is actual money? Fortnite even had to do it, and Fortnite wasn't even close to scamming anyone who bought their skins. So why shouldn't Blocksters be held against that same system and logic? They shouldn't be able to hoard any extra revenue from this scam, since they basically made it a win-win situation no matter the result. Blocksters gets to keep their money they scammed while also getting money from people who will still buy the permanent 5,000 Robux dragon if they didn't already have the dragon before the update. And they will still make money from the discounted price of 2,400 from the compensated players who want both dragons. And they know Roblox won't do anything about it, which is insane. And Roblox needs to say something about this because it is way more serious than it's being portrayed. Exhibit C, why Blox Update 24 was overhyped. Beyond just the dragon rework being an absolute scam, the Blox developers did it again. In this update, they added a grand total of 50 new levels and an island just to do the most boring minigame imaginable, where you have to stop a volcano from exploding by hitting specific spots on a volcano while your friend defends at the bottom from some bosses. Also, this update brought along sword and gun reworks, which mostly aren't usable due to them being still very underpowered against most fruits and fighting styles in the game. So why use them? The main thing in this update was the dojo, where you can get Dragon Talon V2, which is the new fighting style they added, and to get it, guess what? You gotta grind 500 mastery before you're even able to do the quest for the V2 version. And these are the most boring quests imaginable. Granted, they made it easy so you can get the different belt sets you need for Dragon Talon V2. They also added Dragon Race. Another reason why it even got so hyped is because of the fact that these well-produced trailers with flashy effects were made before the update came out, which immediately gets you engaged to play the new updates. They even hit the trending page on YouTube, so the marketing team is absolutely goated, I will say, and that's probably what they spend all their budget on, to be honest. Overall, this update was extremely overhyped, obviously, and was definitely not worth the wait, because all you are doing here is the same grindy, boring quest for new items like every other Blox update. Just this time, everyone got scammed out of their money in Robux. What a way to go, Blox developers. I hope you are proud of yourselves for betraying millions of people who waited for this update with little to no communication as to why this update took so long in the first place and why it's such a mess anyway. But as I say in every video, if you guys enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more content like this one, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video. Peace.